Är du klar att binda? Jag ska bara annonsera dig kort och så tar du det. Sen bara som det blir till kameran.
Jag ska bara låta ligga där.
Och så kan man ligga där. Så om du beväger dig lite runt när du ska gå och sånt så vill den fånga en lyd.
Jag ska sitta.
Okay. Välkommen! Ikväll så har vi Marianne Hurum som vill hålla en presentation av sina arbeten, både tidigare och helt färska.
Ja, helt ikke ferdig engang arbeid.
Så, velkommen.
Tack. Ska jag snacka på engelsk?
Other English speaking people? Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. My notes are in English, so it's okay. Thanks for inviting me. I'll just introduce myself real briefly. Education-wise, I went to the Nordland Art and Film School in Lofoten some years ago. And after that, I went to the Malmö Art Academy and to well, I did my whole studies there, but during that time I went to UIC in Chicago and to Oslo Art Academy of National Art Academy, yeah, whatever, Oslo, for a year on exchange. And I'm based here in Oslo, and I work with my art and also teach regularly at different schools. And I'll be doing a workshop at this school in the autumn. And today I'll talk about some... Am I talking loud enough? Yeah? Yeah. I'll talk about some different... some selected works and a couple of curatorial projects. And I'll end with showing some things that I am kind of foggy about. They're in the making and I don't know what they're about, so... That's going to be pretty usammenhängande. I think, well, why I wanted to start with this picture was because the whole reason why I got into art was because I'm interested in language and the written word and literature. And I keep being very fascinated by lyrical precision and effectiveness in speech and writing. And I enjoy trying to do that myself. So when I was a student and found a way to add or to take writing into my works, it kind of all made sense and I could continue. So this text is more, this is not a student work, it's a more recent work, and it's just an excerpt from a text that I wrote based on the fictive character or my alter ego Rune, the stripper. And this is a poster I found in Lofoten when I was teaching there. And I found this to be so dark and so funny, so that I had to take on the role of the imaginary him as a cultural producer. And this was made during a time when I was just educated, so I was, you know, really broke and felt like him and me were on the same team, kind of. Since this is a school, and I reckon some of you are students, I'm going to show two student works. The first is a video that's now quite old, but it relates a lot to being a student and to being, I don't know, bombarded with different artist roles, images, and different ideas about how to work and what to work with and what's important and what's not and stuff. So when I made this work, I was considering quitting school, I think, because I didn't really know what... well, I felt there was too many influences in too many different directions. And John and I is a video that's really short and really quick. And it springs out of, in terms of form, from just editing a stack of notes to self about all kinds of different things that we were being taught in school in Malmö, and also from just spending a lot of time collecting images online. And the story, it's very narrative, and it's a fictional short fiction text. That's the start, and then images are collected to that. And the story goes that John, who's the protagonist, and the lemming, no, I is the protagonist, and the lemming is John, and they are collaborating, and their only goal, it reveals, is to become VIPs in the art world, and hence the protagonist kind of ends the collaboration.
I had a company that's aim was to produce and promote photography. Me and my co-worker, John, he was a lemming with stigmata, got an office with a view. We arranged our props in the corner and named ourselves Alton Turk Agency after a Turkish canned beans brand. We had lots of rubbish, as it was, although back then it appeared necessary. I had always been attracted to all kinds of boxes. Our ambitions kept company with the angels in heaven. Not that we had a dream. Straight from thought to action, John taught me, was the only valid method. He believed in solving every problem in less than 3 minutes. He was a passionate photographer of food. He appreciated having what he found to be a gift of portraying everything's innermost character, or soul as he called it. I insisted there is no soul in the banana peel. He didn't care much for my critique. I explained the melancholic backdrop of his attitude as, quote, Nordic light, a term used to describe much Nordic art production in the 90s. What field did we operate in? My intentions were abstract and solely emotional, like an itch in the jaw back then, and his were that of the hybrid cultural producer. Visual art meets graphic design, meets marketing, meets the general adaptation of skate culture of the 2000s. As soon as I realized this in John, I felt it coming, the conflict of artistic emphasis. I was about to vomit all over the portrayal of decay. Talk is cheap, John said. Action speaks louder than words. I was now about to vomit over his lack of character, probably because I'd become an academic, which annoyed me with equal strength. Me, I'd long nourished my inner Pedro. That street dog. Cool, smart, sexy. We chose to focus on producing and promoting landscape photography. The brainstorming of titles got me feeling funky. Alton Turk, I thought, is a brilliant company. We put the titles onto landscape photographies. It was fucking depressing. We planned to put it on billboards all over towns of visual bombing. That'd be our ticket to cultural producers, VIP lists all over town. I went swimming to deal with the post-landscape artistic frustrations. My head was spinning, I had a hard time reaching clarity. I became frustrated with terms in general, the nation state, space, love. Still, I had my obligations to my job at Alton Turk, and I wanted to conduct it properly. I had to go local, so I went to the drugstore that trades Genelager for pure and specific annoyance. The store called the third big and cheerful reform that makes our lives easier.
Well, that's a very frustrated work, but anyways, I felt it really solved a lot of problems for me, and also in terms of form, I found a way to be able to write making art, which felt good. And so I decided to continue my studies. And when I went to the Oslo Academy for an exchange, I didn't really know many people in Oslo, having never lived there. And also, I was a little annoyed that every time I saw art video, it was really slow. And it was never cut soon enough, I felt, and not very entertaining. So I decided to kind of research video art a little bit to find something that I liked, and to put together a show to maybe get to know some people in Oslo. Then I researched and found some videos that had something in common that you can see on the screen, that they were all characters in the videos, a protagonist in each video, and that person acted both towards the camera and had a role in the movie, in the film. And I felt that too was really relevant to being an art student, because it was kind of a shock for me to come into that world being full of self-consciousness. I think that the art scene is really about being a character in some ways, and it's about like presenting your work and also be very connected to your work. So I wanted to kind of point to that in a humoristic way. And all these videos are very, they're quick and entertaining. And you can see the list of participants. And so I rented a space that's now a NRK studio above the fish shop at Youngstorget for really cheap, because the owners were pro-culture, being Arbeiderpartiet. And it was kept very simple with bruskasser and TVs from friends. And these are some of the main characters in the videos. And I was lucky to get one of the clips from Swedish artist Mikael Johansson and Johan Fredrik Jonasson, who made the video with this guy. So I'm going to show a short clip from that. This video is called That's Low. And before I show it, I'm going to say that when I was a student here in Oslo, I had a very good teacher named Eline Mugos, who actually came up with the title of the show. I was thinking it should be called something like That's Juicy, although I didn't like the title. I felt like that was what I wanted to say, but it didn't sound too good. And so she taught me that That's Rich is something like moms in New Jersey would say, because they couldn't say the word cool because they were too old. So I like the connotation of that, and also I like that that title kind of said that the show was good, and that's cocky in a funny way, I think. I think a couple of years after I finished school, I was finally able to be working full-time as an artist. And that was because I was freeloading on someone else's studio grant to New York. And before then, I'd been making money working at the Vinmonopolet, selling wine to fellow artists, and that wasn't too satisfactory. So these two, I'm going to show just two paintings from that time, and they're kind of low. It's this one, which is an artist of whom I am a big fan, Philip Guston, and this pretty clearly says that he was like, his art was like a light in the dark for me at that time, and I was a fan. I wanted a t-shirt with his name on. And this one is an homage to my hometown, Lillehammer. And in the middle there, on the one of the haver, there's a person with the Wu-Tang t-shirt of cream, which means cash rules everything around me. And I was completely obsessed with money at the time, just because I didn't have the money I needed to be working full-time. But that all changed when I was able to move to New York. And during that time I also went back and forth to Norway and Denmark to teach. But that teaching is always just fun, because it's relevant and it makes knowledge, artistic knowledge that I don't really think about every day, come to play. And during that time in New York, I was thinking a lot about making, or ideas about making abstract portraits, or portraits of things that, or people or states of mind. And I'll just say that first, that I always prefer to make paintings on paper, because I think it looks more like notes and more immediate than the weight of art history that canvases sometimes have. And so this one came about by, I bought a new t-shirt to paint in my studio, and I also had just been to see Elizabeth Peyton's show at New Museum and bought the monography, her book. So this is just that book stuck into the t-shirt, becoming a portrait. And her painting, which I tried to copy, is called "Democrats Are More Beautiful." And this is a very simple idea about, okay, the colors on this projector aren't too good. Anyways, this is called Painter's Head, and that idea is just that there's a lonely painter thinking about painting, her head becoming paint and a painting. And this one is also just coming from collecting all kinds of images and information. And I was thinking about it as an artist's meal, kind of, as information and colors instead of food. This is a much earlier example of the same. It's that's from when I was in school too, in Malmö, and it's just a copy of what was on my studio wall. I'd put all these things together to be able to think about what I wanted to do with it, and then I decided that that's probably a better painting than an interpretation of all the notes. So it's like a office supply constructivism or something. Oh, and now, when I was in New York, I was also, I brought a text that I'd been working on for a while, a short fiction text again, and I couldn't really work with it here, because it was about Chicago from when I lived there. And it was very connected to the way the streets look in terms of graphic designs on signs and in the streets. So when I came to New York, it was much easier to come back to that state of mind and finish it and find the images and also the right voice, which is very important. Like in John and I, the first video I showed you, it was really important that the voice sounded kind of media trained and aggressively cocky somehow. And my friend Kevin Murphy had that voice, so he did that. And for this, it's Lia Gangitano, who runs Participant Inc. in New York. And her voice, I think, suits this story of a very restless person in Chicago well, because her voice is kind of smoky and lazy and urban, which was what I was looking for.
Let me tell you about why walking city streets is the most rewarding activity. I get up at 7 every morning and immediately feel restless. To deal with this, I take walks in my neighborhood in Pilsen, Chicago. I love looking at the shop signs and commercial signs I could pass in the streets. I try to lower my brain activity as much as I can while walking, try to concentrate on nothing but the soon-to-come act of looking at a sign, and then look at them. I throw a slow gaze at a sign and linger on whatever association comes up. To maintain the ability of having low brain activity and rapid reactions at the same time, I always watch TV while I work. Too bad there are no signs in front of my eyes right now. The happy thing is some sign will surely appear very soon. This is the same as how the music video channel on my TV is only one push on the button away. Liking this is fortunate. It is a surefire way to stay easy and feel good. It's like a good drug, free, available, and entertaining. My thoughts push me to think about life as I pass the third open sign in a few minutes. I'm always looking for new mottos for life. Every time I come across one, my life expands and gets more fragmented and better. Ultimately, my goal is to become a blank sheet that's open to all kinds of things and still have a nose for quality. Why? Because I will never miss anything. A friend of mine who understands this mental drifting gave me a motto that sums it all up neatly. Be open to everything. Every view, every opinion, and every little thing. Every sign could be a sign. That way I will think about everything I come across, for better or for worse. At every corner I turn, I see different kinds of grocery store signs, open signs, exit signs, and telecommunication signs, to mention a few favorites. It is truly satisfactory to see minor variations of the same thing, and I feel strong and happy in the morning sun. Back home in the street, I see a sign I can't really place. I go into a shop that I pass to inquire more about it. The woman at the counter informs me that this sign hides a club called the Fourth Big and Cheerful Reform that makes our lives easier. And she passes me a free ticket.
I had a moment of, really great lyrical satisfaction when I was showing this video in a gallery in Chicago. I realized that the image of the bar, which is the last image in the video, was right across the street from the gallery. So I felt that summed it all up, and it was all right. And I think this is the same as with the first video that I showed you, that I really enjoy seeking out the humor and kind of general blues of online picture pulls. And I also really like to take a closer look at really general images as very eccentric, potentially. And also I was interested in getting across real dense information and to see how far the images could push the reading of the text, kind of. And at the same time, or just a little while after, I made some photograms. And this is, it's a technique that's really old and well known, although I didn't know that, so I thought I'd kind of invented it myself for 10 minutes. And so what I did was to buy a laser torch and big photographic papers like that, the largest ones you get in separate sheets. And and then I rented a darkroom and was writing or drawing some selected signs from the video after memory in the dark, and then developing them. So it comes out the opposite color, which is this, from red. And this sign says everything old is new again, a sign that was in the video. And the 3 other signs say open in different ways. And it's really hard to write if you can't see. So it becomes more like an abstract drawing in a way, although you can read it. And I think about this, like, it's the same as how the images are subordinate to the text in the video. These drawings are after images, like in the eye, of selected signs from the same video, and that they're mimicking the phenomena of the after image in the eye, as well as the central motive from the video, which is that vision directs cognition, or how you think. And also that's what the protagonist in the video does, to let signs in the street be read as a novel or something that's scattered around the city. These are from, that was the first time I showed them. That's at Landings in Vestfossen. And that's just an example of showing photography, video and painting together. This is from Fotogalleriet. And also while in New York, I was able to go see my friends in Chicago. And because I was showing or exhibiting my video just across the street from the bar, I decided to put together and research through that films that were using images as words and words as images, just like I did in that video. And so I rented from, I don't know if you can see it, it says Canyon Cinema on the small picture. That's a place in San Francisco where you can rent 16mm films and they send it to you in the mail, which is a very special feeling to have. When you get that in the mail, you get like 1 or 3 copies, and it was really good. Especially after having just made videos from crappy online, all accessible images. And so these films I showed in the greenhouse, which is really the garden of 2 of my friends. Oh. And it looked like this. I got that kind of old school family canvas, film canvas, and borrowed a projector and someone to project. And that's some stills from some of the films. And I would really, really recommend these films. They're very, very good. I think excerpts of them are available online. And then just a few pictures from a show I did in Glasgow with 3 former fellow students from Sweden. We'd been talking for a while about how we would like to see or work together in a 4-split show, because we all work with appropriation in different ways. So we got this show at Intermedia in Glasgow. And I showed the sunrise video and some paintings on leather that's in the background that I made in Dale while I was on a residency there. They are located just beside the shoe factory, so they get a lot of leather that the residents can use. And these paintings too, I won't go too much into these paintings. They're, I think all the imagery on them is together depicting, again, loneliness of being a painter. And I have to pay some kind of on respect to painter Lars Monrad Våge, who I'm inspired by, and who I think is a really, really good painter. And This is Stina Wirfeldt's. The artists in this show was Stina Wirfeldt, José Luis Martinat, and Patrick Arnevara. And now that's a really good. That was for me at least a really good way to keep in touch, kind of artistically. After having spent 5 years in school together, we are all living in different countries, like in Scotland.